Olivia's getting married. My mother's voice bubbled through the phone, thick with the kind of excitement she never spared for me. She's marrying the CEO of Market Force Solutions. Can you believe it? My daughter, a CEO's bride. I stared blankly at my screen, the acquisition papers in front of me, a lifeline to the future I was building in silence. Market Force Solutions, a once promising marketing firm, had been hemorrhaging money for the past year. Their CEO, James Warner, was scrambling for investors. That's wonderful, I replied, my voice perfectly neutral. If only they knew. The wedding's going to be at the Plaza Hotel, she continued, her tone soaring with delight. Of course, we don't expect you to contribute to the costs. We understand how tight things must be for you, given your situation. My situation? I bit back, the irritation rising in my chest. They called it a situation. My choice to build a small consulting firm from the ground up. My decision to keep it small, hidden behind layers of corporate masks. But I was fine with that. I'd made it work, and I was in control. I can manage, Mom, I said, my voice steady. Oh, Sarah. Her sigh was a weight of disappointment. When are you going to get serious about your career? Look at Olivia. She's the youngest senior VP at Anderson Corp, and now she's marrying a CEO. And you're still in that dead-end job. I glanced around my penthouse office, the view of Central Park spreading out beneath me. Dead end, huh? I couldn't help but smile. The day of Olivia's engagement party arrived, an event so extravagant it might as well have been the finale of a Broadway show. The ballroom at the Morgan Hotel glittered with crystal chandeliers and endless champagne flutes. Every table's setting probably cost more than my family thought I made in a year. Sarah, Olivia's voice rang through the crowd, and there she was, gliding toward me in a dress that screamed new money, her diamond engagement ring winking with every step. I didn't think you'd come. Couldn't afford a new dress? I glanced down at my simple black dress, the custom piece that cost more than her entire outfit, but I wasn't about to point that out. It was just one of the many things she didn't understand. Well, she patted my arm, a touch too condescending for my taste. At least you made an effort. Oh, let me introduce you to James. And there he was, James Warner. He stood next to her, his confident smile struggling to mask the worry lines around his eyes, lines I knew well. I'd been watching his company's financial reports for months. Sarah, right? He extended his hand, his smile too rehearsed. Olivia's sister, the one working at, what was it, darling? Some small consulting firm? Olivia waved him off. Nothing like Market Force. Speaking of which, James was just telling me about this amazing expansion plan they have. I took a sip of champagne, hiding the amusement on my face. There would be no expansion, at least, not with him in charge. Olivia continued, she's more of a small picture person. If only she knew that while she was planning her fairy tale wedding, I was preparing to acquire her fiancé's company, Market Force Solutions. Phoenix Consulting Group, my firm, had been eyeing them for months. Their outdated strategies and bloated leadership were a perfect fit for a takeover. Actually, I said, injecting a careful note of curiosity, I'd love to hear more about these expansion plans. James launched into his spiel about market penetration and synergy, clearly avoiding the company's sinking stock price or the disastrous product launches they'd suffered. I nodded along, feigning interest, all the while keeping my attention on our mother, whose gaze was glued to Olivia. Fascinating, I murmured, isn't it? Olivia beamed. I'll be joining the board after the wedding. James says I have natural leadership abilities. Of course he did. He needed our family's connections, though he had no idea those connections now ran through me, not her. The party continued around me, a parade of designer labels, practiced laughter, and polite congratulations. Every few minutes, someone would sidle up to Olivia, gushing about her brilliant match, casting pitying glances my way as if I were the tragic one. It's not too late. My father cornered me by the bar, his tone as tight as his forced smile. I could still make a few calls, get you a real position somewhere. I smiled faintly, the stack of resumes on my desk flashing in my mind, VPs, directors, all begging to work for Phoenix Consulting. I'm happy where I am, Dad, I said evenly. He shook his head, a sigh escaping him. You could have been like Olivia. Instead, you're wasting your potential at some tiny firm that nobody's ever heard of. Nobody's heard of? I almost laughed aloud. Phoenix Consulting Group was a silent giant, quietly reshaping industries like Market Force from the inside out. We didn't need the spotlight, they did. As I left the party later that night, Olivia caught my arm with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Sarah, I've been thinking, she said with a hint of superiority in her voice. After the wedding, maybe I could help you find a real job, maybe something at Market Force, entry level, of course. I stopped, really looking at her for the first time that evening. The designer dress, the perfect makeup, the well-practiced smile. She had everything she thought she wanted. She had no clue that in less than a month, her world was going to crumble, and I would be the one to make it happen. Thanks, Olivia, I said softly, but I think I'll stick with what I have. Driving home in my sensible car, I couldn't suppress a smile. Let them think I was stuck in a dead-end job. Let them pity the sister who couldn't make it. In the quiet of my office, I opened my laptop and sent a single line to my board. Proceed with the Market Force acquisition timeline. Target date, wedding day. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't in proving them wrong, it's letting them believe they're right until the perfect moment to show them just how wrong they were. Olivia's wedding would be that moment. I texted my assistant. Send me everything on James Warner's recent meetings. Make sure the lawyers are ready. The pieces were in place. Now I just had to wait for the big day, the one where my sister, the bride, would discover that her once-unsuccessful sister was about to become her boss. The irony was almost poetic. The Plaza Hotel ballroom was straight out of a fairy tale, white roses in crystal vases, champagne flowing endlessly, Olivia radiant in her designer wedding gown, basking in the attention of 500 guests. I sat quietly at my assigned table, as far from the main event as possible, my phone buzzing silently. It was the final confirmation from my lawyers. The Market Force acquisition was complete. All that remained was the announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, James stood at the front, tapping his champagne glass, his voice ringing through the room. I'd like to propose a toast to my beautiful bride, who, starting today, will not only be my wife, but also a key part of Market Force's future. The crowd erupted into applause. Olivia beamed, the center of attention. In fact, James continued, I have another announcement. As of Monday, Olivia will be joining Market Force as our new Chief Marketing Officer. More applause. My mother wiped away tears of joy. My father's chest swelled with pride. I checked my watch. 3 minutes until the markets closed. 3 minutes until everything changed. Olivia stood, her wedding dress shimmering under the lights. Thank you all. I'm so excited to begin this new chapter, and I promise, under our leadership, Market Force will reach heights never before imagined. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. My phone buzzed again. The market had closed. The news would break any second now. As if on cue, James's phone rang. His face fell as he listened. Confusion, shock, disbelief flashing across his features. He ended the call, his hands shaking. James, Olivia touched his arm, a frown creasing her forehead. What's wrong? His voice cracked. Market Force, we've been acquired. Phoenix Consulting Group, they've taken controlling interest. That's impossible, Olivia said, her eyes wide with disbelief. The deal wasn't. It's done, I said, standing up. The room quieted as I walked toward their table. The paperwork was finalized 20 minutes ago, I added. James stared at me, his brow furrowing in confusion. How do you know? I smiled, pulling a business card from my clutch, not the simple one I usually carried, but the real one, the one that read, Sarah Mitchell, CEO and founder, Phoenix Consulting Group. No, Olivia's voice dropped to a whisper, her makeup cracking as her eyes widened in realization. This is a joke. You work at a tiny consulting firm. You're nothing. That tiny consulting firm? I kept my voice even, almost gentle. It was Phoenix. I built it from the ground up while you were busy mocking my career. And now, I turned to James. I believe you'll find your resignation letter in your inbox. The board's already accepted it. The ballroom erupted in murmurs. My mother's champagne glass shattered in her hand. My father stood frozen, pale, his mouth agape. You can't do this, Olivia screamed, her perfect composure completely shattered. This is my wedding, my moment. Actually, I said coolly, I can, and as for that CMO position you were so excited about, the board has some concerns about nepotism. We'll be going in a different direction. James slumped in his chair, the last of his arrogance draining away. I told you everything at the engagement party, I said, taking another sip of my champagne. Those details were exactly what convinced me Market Force needed new management, though, I did appreciate the preview. Olivia's perfectly manicured hand gripped my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Why? Her voice was frantic. Why would you do this? I gently peeled her hand away, meeting her gaze with a calmness I hadn't felt in years. Remember last Christmas, when you told everyone not to expect much from my pathetic little job? Well, consider this my wedding present, a lesson in humility. Sarah, my father finally found his voice, his disbelief palpable. All this time, you were building an empire? I finished his sentence for him. Yes, while you were lamenting my wasted potential, I was quietly transforming Phoenix into one of the most powerful consulting firms in the country. 40 million in revenue last year alone. My mother swayed slightly, her voice shaking. But your apartment, your clothes. Those were choices, I said, my tone steady. I didn't need to show off my success. I just needed to work quietly until the right moment. I straightened my simple black dress, the one I'd carefully chosen for tonight's spectacle, and what better moment than my dear sister's wedding? The ballroom descended into chaos. The guests, once eagerly sipping champagne, now scrambled for their phones, Googling Phoenix Consulting Group. Whispers rippled through the crowd as they discovered the truth, who I really was. Olivia's perfect day had become a spectacle of a different kind. Security, she shrieked, her face turning red with panic. Get her out. I chuckled softly. The Plaza Hotel? I own it, bought it last month, actually, just for today. Turning toward the crowd, I added, please, enjoy the rest of the celebration. The champagne is excellent, I selected it myself. As I walked toward the exit, I heard my mother calling my name. I didn't turn around. 10 years of dismissal, of mockery, had led to this single, perfect moment of justice. Outside, my driver opened the door to my Bentley. No more sensible car for me. Where to, Miss Mitchell? He asked. The office, I replied. We have a company to restructure. My phone buzzed incessantly with messages, family members suddenly remembering my existence, business reporters clamoring for comments, and Olivia's increasingly desperate texts. I turned it off. Let them talk. Let them scramble to understand how the sister they'd belittled had become the most powerful person in the room. Let them realize that every time they mocked my dead-end job, they were digging their own professional graves. Monday morning, I sat in my corner office, looking out the window at Market Force's headquarters across the street. They didn't know it yet, but by noon, half of their senior management would be gone. My assistant, Madison, entered. Your sister and parents are in the lobby again. They've been here since 7 a.m. Should I let them in? I glanced out the window, a small smile tugging at my lips. Tell them the CEO is in meetings all day. Madison raised an eyebrow. That's cold. No, I corrected her, meeting her gaze. That's business. I picked up a framed photo from my desk, the last family Christmas, where they had all laughed at my modest lifestyle, mocking my career choices. I dropped it in the trash. Sometimes, success isn't about proving people wrong, it's about waiting for the perfect moment to show them just how right you've become. As Market Force's stock price soared under Phoenix's management, as Olivia's carefully planned future crumbled, as my parents finally realized what they had dismissed for all these years, I knew one thing for certain: the dead-end job they mocked had become their dead end instead, and I had become exactly what they never thought I could be, their boss.